For the next step in building the FireFly hard case, we will be connecting the power switch to the back of the FireFly. For this, we will need 3 pieces of wire, a 12-volt single pole, single throw switch. With this one has an LED connected so that we can see it when it's powered on. A piece of PCB board. This is a 1 inch by 3/8 inch double-sided copper PVC. This is a piece of nickel. This will connect to the negative post. This comes in a strip. This is what you would normally have on connecting some batteries. 2 pieces of heat shrink tubing, 3/32, 3 Spade connectors, some wire strippers, soldering iron solder, and some holders. Let's get started. First, we will strip away about 1/4 inch off of each piece of the wire. I've already stripped away the main sheathing on this piece. This will actually connect to the power switch itself. But we'll go ahead and take off about 1/4 inch of the sheathing on this. This is a 16 gauge wire. I'm using this to make sure that we don't that we can supply enough power to the unit. And then again over here. If you want to, while you're at this, you can go ahead and strip the other side as well, because we will be stripping all ends of the wires. Next, we will connect a Spade connector to one end of each wire. When I crimp it, I make sure I crimp it from the side like this. Just give it a good tug. What happens when you crimp these things, it comes together at the top, and then if you crimp it from the side, it'll crush down on it. If you crimp it this way, it can actually splay open and smush it, and it doesn't get a good bite onto the wire. I'll show you that again. So just make sure that it's perpendicular or parallel to the blade. And give it a good tug, make sure it holds well. For this next part, I'm going to situate the red wire on the bottom of this PCB wafer. This way, when we mount it, it's going to be in the front. When you solder the wire to the PCB, the easiest way I've been able to find to do it is just make sure you load up your soldering iron with some solder, and then since there's so much, you're going to need to feed more as well as you start to heat it up. The copper is going to accept the solder really quickly, but the wire is going to draw it up some. So there you go. Nice, good solder connection. Flip it over to the other side, and then we'll move to the next wire. All right, here's the next one. Next, we're going to solder the ground wire to the negative, or to the negative lead, which is that strip of nickel. This is a 3/8 inch wide nickel. I cut it to 1 1/4 inches, and we can trim it later if we need to. I loaded up the soldering iron just like before. It's going to have to heat up a little bit. Next, we will connect the power connections to the FireFly power plate. When you take off the power plate, first make sure that you slide the switch to the off position. Then there are going to be 4 screws that you'll remove. Go ahead and rotate these. The screws will not come out all the way. They are locked with a little washer so you don't lose them, theoretically. Alright. There are two different types of power plates. You have a red power plate and a black power plate. They're actually identical. It's just the color changed on the from the earlier models. The original ones were red. All right. So if you're going to use batteries, I can go ahead and talk about this. The way that the batteries work is that when you put batteries in series, they add voltage to each other. So 1.5, you add another one, it becomes 3, then 4.5, then 6. So the output of this actually is 12 volts going to the FireFly system by keeping it in series. If you're using batteries, what you would do, the nickel plate, you'll just slide between the battery and the negative spring, and then the switch, you'll put one side between the last battery, the positive plate, and inside this little terminal. Let's see if you can see it there. You just slide it in there and then put the batteries and then close it up and you're done. With the power plate, what we're going to do, it goes this way. This is where the switch is. On the switch side, we're actually going to take the little nickel wafer and we're going to slide it in from the top. And I just kind of bend it a little bit and you can put it inside and it'll slide inside of that switch like such, and then hold that down with a piece of tape. Let me get that real quick. Now the switch will still open and close, so we don't want to tape it right here at the very edge of it. So back your tape up about a ½ inch or an inch or so and just tape it there, and then we'll come out through the center like that, so we'll bend it. So it's black on black, it's hard to see, but likewise what we'll do with the other side, this is the PCB, printed circuit board wafer, where we soldered one wire on one side and the other on the other side. That's going to end up getting wedged onto the other post. That has to be done on the FireFly unit itself. So what we'll do is that it's 3/8 inch wide, which lets us slide it inside of this. Let's see if you can see it. It lets us slide it inside this post, and we will just. I'm going to put the wires on the bottom, and then I'm going to form it. I'm going to form it in there, and then I'll get a piece of tape to hold it down here at the bottom. And what this will let us do is close the FireFly unit, or the power plate, close it back on it, and it'll wedge it in place, making the final connection. So I now have it in there, it's wedged. Let's see if you can see it in there, and it's at a good angle. We kind of, instead of being straight vertical, it's leaning over slightly so that when we close it, it will slide down it and it'll pinch it closed at the end. On the other side, you can see the connector. It's slid inside this little piece here, and it's ready to go. Now this will not close completely. We're going to try and put the wires side by side on each other. You could open up this a little bit, but I didn't want to damage this permanently, so I figured if I ever had to sell it, or I don't know, I just don't like doing anything destructive. But it would be really easy just to get a file or something, open that up for a clean exit of the wires. Alright. I'm closing the two outer ones first, and then on the center, make sure that they're side by side, and then you can close these up. I'm just going to close it up until it snugs up against it. I'm not going to over tighten it because I don't want it to cut into the cable.